Hello, hello. All right, y'all. It's Sunday, kind of rainy outside, but so today I'm making red beans and rice. So I call this the home stretch because like the main sort of part is done, and so essentially what I've done, and this is if I started this from when I've actually started, like y'all, we've been on live since 10. Hi, everybody. So basically, you take some red beans, which I've done, and these are light red kidney beans. You could use, dark red or whatever you like, but I just use light red. And then you boil them down. So they've been boiling for probably since 10 a.m. And I just boil them on low. And let me show you what it looks like now. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me show you what good afternoon, Erica. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like now. So I boiled it down so you can kind of see how that looks. So basically you boil it down. Initially I showed you all the bag. They're like kind of hard red beans, kidney beans, but you boil them down. This is what it looks like after several hours. So I boil it on low, and what happens is it's ready because if you look closely, you see how some of the beans are breaking? Well, that's how you know you're really close, because that's what you want, because that means they're soft enough. And then what also happens is the liquid starts getting somewhat thick as opposed to just like water. So that's that. So I'm going to show y'all this. So this is the next part, what I do, which is a little bit different. Now everybody makes their red beans differently. There's not a right or wrong way. There's just your way. So hey, I know I love red beans and rice. I haven't made this in so long. Okay, so I basically do that. So that's green onions and onions. And then the other thing I'm going to do is add in my sausage, y'all. So I like to actually mix. So I actually like to mix the kind of onion mixture with the sausages separately. That's just kind of how I do it. I guess that's how my mom sort of did it. My recipe is a little different from hers, but that's how my mom did it growing up, and I just really like that way because you kind of create a different sauce in a way, like a different stew that you sort of put over the red beans. And so I really like it that way. The other thing I need to do is I also made some cornbread. Y'all, if you don't have cornbread with the red beans, did it actually happen? I don't know. So I made this using. Yes, honey. Here. It's chicken. You want chicken? Okay. Okay, so I use this with cornmeal, flour, egg, milk. And all I'm going to do is actually bake this. So I usually do that along, whenever I'm doing it. Yes, exactly, Erica. The cornbread goes hand in hand with the red beans. So y'all see baby girl, baby girl found her Halloween costume, and so we're wearing a Halloween costume. What are you?
I'm Nathan.
So she found it. She loves firefighters and like police. Like she loves that whole the safety concept. She loves ambulances, and so we got her that for Halloween, and she found it and she demanded it be put on. So, she's been wearing that all day. You know what I think about motherhood and parenthood is you pick your battles. So, was I really going to fight that she wanted to wear the firefighter costume? No, I wasn't. I'm going to let her wear it because she's not hurting anything. And it makes her happy. You pick your battles. Okay, so this is going to go in the oven. All right, what's everybody been up to today? Yeah, girls love to play dress up, and so she loves it. So, because my first one's a boy, as y'all know, and he wasn't so much into like what he was wearing and stuff as she is. So, this is the stew I'm making. I call it a stew because it's kind of like you put onions with green onions and you mix it all together. So that's going to actually go in the red beans. I don't have the rice ready yet, but this goes really well with jasmine rice. So we're going to eat this later. So I'm just focusing on the beans now. But let me show you all the beans again. for those of y'all just joining. So this has been going on. This has been on the fire since about 10 a.m. You can make this in the slow cooker too, which sometimes I do, but today I just felt like making it on the pot because the slow cooker takes so long to really get those beans to soften. Because let me show you all the beans. These are the beans. So they're literally like, they're like hard like rocks. So it takes so much time for them to soften. Okay, let me show y'all our progress. Okay, so here we go, the beans. So I season these with salt as well as Creole seasoning. And then here we have our stew. Now this is onions, green onions, and then our sausage. I'm gonna season that some. And I don't put too much seasoning in it because the sausage actually, and a lot of sausages, like that sausage is D&D sausage as well as some other sausages, but D&D sausage from New Orleans happens to have a lot of salt content in it. So a lot of that salt is released as it's cooked. So I actually I don't over season it because you can always, you could always add more, but you can't take it away, y'all. And how depressing is that when you like make this amazing meal and it's too salty? So I am very cautious on the addition, but I do know I need some. Are you okay, honey? Okay. So I put a little bit of salt and pepper and Creole seasoning in the beans, and so I'm gonna add a little bit to the stew mixture now. Salt. Let me demonstrate to y'all. You okay, honey? You need some water? Here. Okay. A little bit of salt. Then let me add my Creole seasoning. Creole seasoning is like the one seasoning I literally put in everything. Cannot live without Creole seasoning. So I feel like that's enough for now. So I'm gonna mix that and that's gonna cook down. It's gonna change so much. So I got this, my kind of side stew, and then of course that is gonna go in the red beans. So this is a home stretch because essentially once that's done, all I do is combine the two, mix them, and voila, it's done. And then of course we have cornbread cooking in the oven. All right, let me close this cabinet. You want some water, honey? Okay. Here you go. Turn it up a little bit. It changes so much. Like as the onions soften and the sausage kind of turns color, it changes so much. What kind of pots and pans? So these pots and pans, my husband got these from Sam's actually. I don't know the names, but I can find it. Awesome. So 81 Green Girl went to the store. Okay, you put yours in the crock pot before bed. That's a good idea. Wake up, dinner's ready. That's so true. You can do all this all in a crock pot. You don't have to make the separate stew. I just kind of like to do that because I just like the extra flavor it adds. All right, let's look at our progress, y'all. Let me look at let me look at that pot info for you real quick. Okay, so it's called Rock, and it was from Sam's, and the pots are really good. You know how some pots say they're non-stick, but they stick? These are legitimately non-stick pans, so like they legitimately don't stick. And y'all, I got no stocks or anything in these pots. They're just good pots somebody asked about. Oh. All right, y'all, so here we go. So truly, red beans and rice, I don't feel like it's a very difficult dish. It's just that you really got to know kind of when the beans are ready. So look at that. This is just, to me, this is like perfect. Let's look closely. See how the beans, some of them are broken, some of them are together. That tells you that they're soft enough. And then see how this stew is like pretty thick. You don't want like a watery red beans and rice. Now, personally, I like my red beans and rice to not be super dry because I like to have a little bit of stew or like liquid to go along with it, but I like the liquid to be thick. So see how that's kind of thick? So I just keep doing that. Check my stew. So this is like the balancing act. Of course, like I usually hold the pan, but I'm holding my phone. The struggle is real, y'all. So look at that. So, I mean, I feel like we're almost ready to add it, but I do want that to cook down just a little bit more. All right, well, where's everybody streaming from? I know quite a few are from in the Tennessee area. And usually what I do is I just kind of mix this as I'm going, these red beans. And the red beans, usually I start off by adding, you know, I really, because what happens is the beans, because they're essentially almost solid, the beans will absorb so much of that water that you put in. So so when you're planning and you have your pot with the beans, you have to make sure your pot is like pretty big, because otherwise it'll overflow. So what happens is the beans swell up and rise. So actually the amount of beans you initially put in, it almost looks like it triples or quadruples, but it doesn't. The beans just get bigger. And so I say that to say you have to add you have to add more water than you think. And then what I do is I just go on and check it along as I'm cooking, as the day is going on. Like I started at 10, and then probably about 11 I check it, add a little more water. So like I added so much water, and the beans started probably at 1/4. So the actual height of the beans before I started anything was about 1/4 full, and now it's almost full, if that gives you an idea. So we got Clarksville, Atlanta, Louisiana. What part of Louisiana? I'm from New Orleans. Atlanta. Awesome. I'm so glad to have y'all. So I call it home. I call every dish, you know, a lot of dishes take a lot of time, and a lot of times I sort of think about it like the home stretch, right? Because you start this dish and it's like you're waiting and you're waiting, and the beans are cooking and they're swelling up and you're waiting, and then it's home stretch where it's like hurry up and go because it's almost done. So I brought y'all in on that part, and hopefully this is helpful, because last time I posted something about red beans and someone had asked to post a recipe. So this is not exactly a recipe, but it's sort of like a tutorial guide, you know. But of course I have to answer any questions especially for those y'all catching us on the replay. New York, awesome. Lafayette, okay, cool. Love it, love it, love it. Well, I grew up in New Orleans. Spent a lot of time in Louisiana. I did college at LSU, and then I came to Vanderbilt for medical school in Nashville. Then I left to Kentucky for training in Houston, and then came back to Nashville. So that's where I am. Sure some of y'all know that, for those of y'all that didn't know. Hope everybody's remaining blessed, and finding peace is such a big concept. There's so much going on right now, you know. But so glad to have y'all here cooking with me in the kitchen on Sunday. Okay, so let me show y'all. Okay, so now you see the mixture? And now I put like a little bit of olive oil, and you can use whatever kind of oil you want to use. Someone like on one of my posts was like, you should not cook with olive oil, and I was like, the beauty of life is that you can cook with, like, there's so many ways to do stuff, you know? Like, I think sometimes people just take things too seriously. Like, sometimes you just need to step back and just be happy, be calm. It's not that serious. Okay, these are the beans. So again, there's not really much in these beans. You know, this beans, I put water that's been boiling since 10 a.m. and then a little bit of salt and pepper and Creole seasoning. So this is almost ready to go into the bean mixture. So this is kind of the fun part. If I could I wish, you know, there was a way to just transfer the aroma so y'all can see, or not see, what am I saying, y'all? Transfer the aroma so y'all can smell. Oh, Lord. All right, we got Nashville in the house. Okay. So I'm just mixing the beans. I always keep mixing the beans because what can happen, this pot is non-stick, but what can happen if you have a pot that says, you know how the pots say they're stick, but they're not. So the ones that it can stick, and when it sticks, the beans get sticky. You don't want to make a paste, right? You still want to be able to see the beans when you're eating and like chew the beans. So it's a fine line in terms of where you get to.
I ketchup.
You want ketchup, honey?
Yeah.
What are you doing with ketchup? Here, look. You want this?
No.
You don't want that? Okay. All right, y'all. So we ready. Let me show y'all. Okay, so beans, the side mixture we got going on. So basically what you do, that's why I say this dish is like, not the hard part about this dish is just realizing that fine line, you know. So there we go. So this, all that's gonna go in there. Can y'all see? just shaking it. That's why I'm making it very nice. So then, this is like, I love this part. So you just combine it all. And pretty much like it is done. I like the vegetables because they add the green onions because they just give it a little bit of color. Erica said y'all about to throw down. It is going down, I tell you that. So look how pretty that is, y'all. Look at that. So it's pretty much done. So what I do is I let this cook down just a little bit more, just to kind of let it evaporate. The interesting thing that happens with red beans is like when you make it, like see how it kind of has like a little bit, like it looks like it has a little more liquid. When it sits for a while, you lose liquid day by day in the fridge. So that's why I kind of make it a little more liquidy, because I really like this consistency. What vegetables? So actually I use green pepper, green onions, and that's it. Those were the vegetables I used. All right, let me grab. Okay, so I haven't actually tasted it or the beans, so I have no idea what we're getting into or if it needs more seasoning, but we'll try it and see. But this is so good. It goes really good over rice, and then you have just got to have your cornbread. Looks so good, reminding me of my mom's. Wow, that's awesome. I'm honored because y'all know moms throw down in the kitchen. So that's some of the red beans. This is just a bean with some sauce. It's so good. I'm not going to add anything else. This is good. And you know, the key, like I mentioned, I kind of eyeball the seasonings, and I don't really add a lot of extra seasonings because, again, that sausage has its own seasoning. So it's the moment you bite into that sausage and the moment this really sits and cooks for a while, you really get so much flavor. And so when it's too salty, I feel like it gets lost. You don't enjoy it as much. So red beans is ready, y'all. I just got boiled rice, and the cornbread, let me show y'all, is here. It's not ready yet. This cornbread takes a while to cook. I found with the cornmeal, whenever I use cornmeal, it just takes a while. So it's probably going to be 45 minutes or so, but this is it. Red beans is done, so not that hard, y'all, truly. And just going to be so delicious over some rice. All right. Thanks for joining me for the home stretch, y'all. I wish y'all well. Have a good Sunday, a good week. Just make it great. Get it off to a good start. And I'll be thinking of you, praying for everybody. No, actually, so Erica asked if that one bag. It's 2 bags. So last time I made it, I just made 1 bag, and we went through it in like a couple days. So I was like, you know what? I'm making a couple bags this time so I can actually freeze some. So that's one thing I do a lot, is on Sundays I'll cook things, and then I'll actually freeze quite a bit of it so that we have it we can use it like in the next week or the next 2 weeks. That's kind of how I figured out maintaining cooking and things like that, but still like as busy as I am. So during the week, what we'll do is we'll eat leftovers, and then I'll freeze quite a bit of it so we can eat it, like in 2 weeks if we're craving red beans and rice. Simple, pull it out of the freezer. This is 2 bags. But I'm excited. This looks so good. Thanks for joining me, y'all. And I'm excited to throw down. I wish I could send some to y'all watching, virtually, but maybe someday we'll have that technology. You just never know. All right, have a good day. Thank you all so much. Remain blessed.